Welcome to 40 Fit Radio, where we bring you science-based, common sense information regarding fitness, health, and lifestyle for the 40-plus community. I'm your host, Darin, doctor of physical therapy with 28 years clinical practice experience, starting strength coach, and certified CrossFit trainer. "40 Fit Radio, real people, real fitness, real health." Good morning and welcome to the 40 Fit Nation. This is Darin Deaton, your host on 40 Fit Radio. And this morning we have with us a fellow coach and colleague within the starting strength community, but he also has a background in the CrossFit community, powerlifting, and Olympic weightlifting. So we have Peter Nathan today. Good morning.
Morning, Darin. How are you?
I'm doing very well, So we're going to talk a little bit about your athletic background today. We're going to talk a little bit about your experience as a coach. And I'm always looking for interesting individuals to bring onto the program to talk about their life as a master's and to give us some insight, especially people that have had a lot of experience in sport, in the fitness industry, being able to coach others, bring others along into what we like to talk about here, Peter, as sustainable fitness. Something that is sustainable that I can do today when I'm 51, or I can do 14 years later when I'm 65 like you.
Yeah.
So you guys are not sitting here looking at Peter right now, but you wouldn't think this guy is 65 years old. And when we talk a little bit about some of his numbers today, his lifting prowess and his background, I think you'll see what I mean. So Peter, tell us a little bit about yourself.
How far back to go? So I was always athletic as a kid. I wanted to be a superhero. So, I was into sports from way back. I was in school. I played soccer and tennis, briefly wrestled, but I was miserable at that. And I went to college, and my athleticism my fitness went to pot, and
like most of ours.
Yeah. And then after I got out of college, one of my girlfriends was a modern dancer, and she convinced me to take modern dance classes. Oh. So I did that, and I was like, wow, this is great. Here I am. I'm the only guy here. Yeah. All these women are in tights and leotards. This is fantastic.
Well, I was a gymnast, so it was always great going in the gym,
It was the same thing.
All the guys thought we were kind of, quirky and a little queer, but I was kind of like, hey, I'm not stupid. There's like 5 of us guys and 20 girls in here in leotards,
exactly.
So
Exactly. And I met my wife, my future wife, at a dance rehearsal, and we moved to New York, become professional dancers, and we did that for a while.
Oh, wow.
But that didn't last. Well, you couldn't really support yourself as a dancer in New York unless you were the very top. So, and we both were injured somewhat, and so I decided to go back to school for ex-phys. And I went back to school for ex-phys and got a job as a trainer in one of the first personal training gyms in New York. Sports Training Institute was one of the first, I think. And I did that for a while. And then from there, I went on to cardiac rehab. I did that for 5 years. I did work hardening for another 5 years. So I did a lot of that, the clinical stuff.
Sure.
And at the time, I got into master soccer, and I did that for a while. I also, I was a runner for a while.
Sure.
I was a runner for a while, and from running, I got into triathlons when they first started. And I did a bunch of triathlons. And I decided I didn't like triathlons so much because I didn't like being sort of good at swimming and sort of good at running and sort of good at cycling. So I went into road cycling, and I did road cycling, and we used to race in New York around Central Park every week.
Oh, wow.
It was great.
Cool.
And I did that for a long time until we had first child, and I had a bad crash, and I came home once all bloodied, and my wife was like, no,
we're doing that.
Yeah, that's enough of that stuff. So I stopped that stuff.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's during all that time, from when I was cycling and running, I was still lifting. Yeah. I used to lift in New York. I used to lift in a barbell gym below the Beacon Theater, and it was mainly a bodybuilding gym.
Yeah, that's cool.
But they had all the equipment. They had squat racks. They had benches, all that, and it was great.
Kind of old school.
Yeah. And it was really good. He had all these old bodybuilders and doing weird stuff. And I worked in a YMCA, one of the oldest YMCAs in New York, and they had barbells, and they had some old guys in there. And I'd go into the gym, and I was still new to barbells at that time. And I'd go in, and these guys were doing like farmer's carry with these big old dumbbells. And I was like, what the hell are these guys doing?
Yeah.
They're just walking around with dumbbells in their hand. This is the dumbest thing I've ever seen. You know, and they had one guy there who was like in his 80s. He was leading a fitness class with medicine balls, and they're throwing the medicine balls at each other. And I was like, this is the silliest stuff. I mean, this is back when Nautilus was first starting.
Yeah.
And I was
so
thinking,
like 70s, early 80s, late 70s.
Early 80s, yeah.
Yeah,
late 70s, early 80s. And so Nautilus is coming out, and I say, well, this is the shiz. This is what you have to do. And this barbell stuff is silly. And I look back on that stuff, and I was like, boy, did I mess up. I should have asked those guys all these questions because they knew what the hell they were doing. And
it's so cool. You know, I look at some of the older guys that you look back into the fitness industry, and just some of the great figures over time, and I call them kind of the fathers of fitness. Everybody from guys like Jack LaLanne and Steve Young and all these different guys. And then you look back into the bodybuilding industry, the first part of the bodybuilding industry, where you had like the Metzger brothers, and you had Arnold, and you had Tom Platz in the 80s, and Franco Colombo, Frank Zane, and all these guys. And now I look at what we have today. It's a little different mix, but you'll appreciate this then, Peter. I the other day I was looking for. I love all things retro and old when it comes to anything, and especially when it comes to barbell stuff. And so the other day I was on Craigslist just looking at some stuff, and I found a set of York Globe dumbbells, cast iron dumbbells from 50s to 80s, and I bought them from a guy for nothing. And they're just a part of Americana. You know, you could do heavy carries with them. Yeah. Really what you do is you just look at them and go, those are cool. Yeah. But I love old stuff.
That stuff's great. They're usually really expensive. I've looked at some of those, and I was like, man, I'd love to buy them. But
I bought them for about $1 a pound.
Damn.
I got a really good deal on it.
So it's a funny story. It's talking about old stuff. But about 20 years ago, my wife went to an antique store, and she bought an Indian club. Brought it home, gave it to me. And I was like, what the hell is this?
Yeah.
So I'm looking around. I'm trying to find what to do with them. And you know, I found some stuff online, and I was like, well, that's interesting. You swing them. And so I started collecting them. I started collecting them, and I started collecting all these old books, like 100-year-old books on how to do that on Indian club swinging. They're incredibly difficult descriptions of how to swing them.
Yeah.
But so I kept buying them. And I'd go on eBay, and I'd find all this stuff. And my wife was like, okay, enough already. I mean, I'd had them set up in the living room, and they were all up on a cupboard. And I had about 20 pairs, and every time she'd go into vacuum, she'd like knock it, and every single one of the Indian clubs would fall down. And she was like, get the hell. So now they're in my gym hanging up, but I still use them. I still swing them. It's really fun. It's great for your shoulders. But
good for mobility, good for shoulder strength. And so tell us a little bit about what's, you know, you and I met through Starting Strength, and we're both SSOC. We're online coaches, and then we both have clients. But tell us, go back a little before that, because the last 3 fitness or sport endeavors you've had are very interesting. So tell us a little bit about that.
So I discovered CrossFit back in, I guess it was 2007, and I was just looking online for different workouts, and I came across CrossFit, and I was like, well, this workout takes 8 minutes, and I'm supposed to do this, and it's supposed to get me fit. So I did it. And it kicked my ass. I did something like Fran, and it was miserable.
Same with me.
And I was like, wow, that's incredibly strong. And so I started doing this, and CrossFit was great. They had all the free information online. They were giving away workouts, and I was like, how is this organization ever going to make money? They're giving away everything. So I kept doing it, and I went to a cert out in California with Glassman, and got certified 2007, I guess. And started doing CrossFit and trying to convince everybody else to do CrossFit. Mm-hmm. But I thought at the time that, this is not going to last. I mean, only like fanatics like myself are going to do it.
Yeah, it was the exact same with me.
General population could never do this sort of stuff.
Well, they won't tolerate it. Yeah. And then what I found within most gyms was coaches won't program it correctly so that they can tolerate it. I saw CrossFit. You'll find this funny, because we have the same haircut. Those of y'all who know us know we have beautiful hair. And I was in a barber shop in Texas, and I was getting ready to get my haircut. That's how long ago it's been. He's laughing because I don't have any hair. And I read a Muscle and Fitness magazine, an article about Andy Petronic's gym in LA, CrossFit LA.
Yeah.
And it intrigued me because it had gymnastics in the workout.
Right.
And I was a gymnast in college and high school and grade school, and it had all these different, weightlifting movements, everything. That's cool, And I did the same thing. I went online, CrossFit.com, started doing some workouts. They just, in the rec center, they smashed me. And 10 years later, I had 3 gyms and was rocking along, so.
Yeah,
But that didn't last.
It didn't. I mean, I did the certs, and I thought the certs were great. I mean, at the time, I had been to ACSM certs and NSCA certs, but the CrossFit cert was the first time they did anything practical.
Right,
I mean, you
right.
had a barbell in your hand, and you could do movements.
Yeah.
I was like, well, this is different. We're not just sitting in the classroom talking theoretical, contraindications to exercise, that sort of thing.
Right.
And I was like, well, this is pretty good. They're at least trying to teach me something, how to move. And so, and I'm through CrossFit. I met Rip, I met Glassman, I met Mike Bergner, the Olympic weightlifting coach. So, they had some really good high-level coaches, and I thought it was great. And so then when the CrossFit Games started happening, it was interesting, and I thought, well, once again, who could do this?
Right.
And then in 2010, they had the Masters, and it was only for Masters 50 and over, and I was 59 at the time. And some of my clients said, oh, you should do it, you should do it. And I was like, I'm not going to do this. Only 15 people qualify. I can't do that.
Yeah.
But I did it anyway. I went to the regionals up in Albany. And
that's when they had Masters regionals. I remember that.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I did 3 workouts over 2 days. And I qualified in 7th position or something.
Yeah.
And I was
awesome.
like, damn, what am I doing? And I didn't have a coach or anything. I was just doing my own program and stuff.
Yeah.
And I went out there for the first games, and it was a blast. I had no idea what I was doing, but it was fun. Then I did it the next 2 years,
right.
And CrossFit, they treated you really well. He gave you a lot of free stuff.
Yeah, sure.
And once Reebok got on with them, then. They had really nice facilities for the Masters. They publicized it well. I think that they did a really nice job. I just
sure.
It was exhausting, and I just got tired of doing it. I got tired of doing it I got tired of trying to be good at every single movement, doing everything.
Yeah.
And it was just like I can't train like this anymore.
Well, it's a generalist. Let's face it. And you and I have talked about this, and I think we've talked about this in different circles too, not just among ourselves, but with other people too. And that is, the older I get and the more my body reacts to training and the more it reacted to exercise, the more I found that I needed to train. And that meant that my machine was not tolerating inputs, stresses like it used to. And I was going to have to ensure to myself that I was going to carefully select when I wanted to go and when I wanted to slow, Mm-hmm. It's the Kenny Rogers thing, when to hold them, know when to fold them, Right. That's an old reference, guys, if you don't know who Kenny Rogers is. But basically I found out that my body started to respond better to a more strength biased program. I still do CrossFit. I still do some conditioning on the side. I think you and I were talking about that. We both do some conditioning, but, my fitness program and what I recommend to masters is obviously much more strength biased. So tell us what has happened after CrossFit. And you had an affiliate, you had a gym.
I had a CrossFit affiliate, for 10 years or so.
Same with me. We're very similar.
I was when I was doing the games, I was doing a lot of barbell strength training.
Right.
I was doing strength training 3 times a week and conditioning 3 times a week. I wasn't doing all CrossFit because I saw that the strength was fundamental to fitness. If you're not strong enough, you're not going to have a good France score.
Yep.
If you're not strong enough, you can't do those 30 stupid deadlifts.
Yeah.
So you need the strength, and
Yeah.
it doesn't make you sweaty, and you don't end up, in a sweat angel on the floor. But
Right.
but that's what you need. So after the 2012, after my last appearance at the games, I was like, enough of this. I just went back to doing just barbell training, and a couple of people in my gym started competing in Olympic lifting. And I was like, well, geez, I know I'm old, but I can.
How were you then? Probably early 60s, late 50s?
I was, like 59, 60.
Yeah,
60 years old. And I didn't have a problem with the mobility and the snatch and the clean and jerk and all that stuff. I was fine with that. My technique wasn't that great, but so they convinced me to try a competition. It was completely unlike the CrossFit competition.
Right.
I mean, Olympic lifting competition is like a golf match.
Right.
There's no noise. Everybody shuts up. You're the only one on the platform.
Right.
Everybody's quiet and staring at you. It's unlike the CrossFit Games where everybody's screaming and yelling and you have death metal music blasting, which was not my favorite music. But so it was interesting, and it was very unnerving to be up there by yourself and everybody staring at you.
Sure.
In a singlet, and but I did all right for the first year, and then I think that 2013 I went to the Nationals for the first time. And I got a silver at the Nationals, so I was like, wow, this is sort of cool.
Yeah.
And from there I got a coach and kept competing in Olympic lifting. And eventually, there aren't that many Olympic lifters my age, that's for, so the field is a lot smaller.
Sure.
Even now it's fairly small. And so then in 2014, I won every competition I went in. I won the American, I won the Nationals, I won the Pan Am, and I went to the World Championships and won them. And I was like, wow, this is awesome. But eventually I got, it was just, there wasn't that much competition.
Right.
And I was like, well, why do I have to, I don't want to pay $500 to fly out to California to compete, because there's nobody to compete against.
Right.
So what am I doing?
Which is a shame.
Yeah, it is.
Where are those men and women that
I know.
that age? It's a shame.
It was.
Says something about our culture too. So
and I look at the results now. They just had the Masters Championships last weekend.
I just saw that. Yeah.
One of the guys I trained with just won his third Nationals. But it's the same guys lifting that I was competing against. I mean, the fields haven't changed.
Yeah.
And it's too bad.
Yeah. I mean, those lifters are great lifters, and it doesn't say as much about them as it says about their cohorts, about the rest of the field, the opportunity that's there for people to still show athletic prowess as we get older can still be there if we just harvest that, as long as we don't give it all up when we're young.
Yeah, sure.
We got to have something left in the tank,
right.
For it to be sustainable. So.
Well, I mean, the Olympic lifters, a lot of them were pretty beat up. I mean, especially the guys who have been doing it all their lives, they all got a lot of mobility problems, hip, shoulder problems. And I hadn't done that Olympic lifting. Like I said, I started, 50s, 60s. And I was like, my joints are great.
Yeah.
So this is fun. This is great. I don't have that problem. I can get into a full overhead squat and it doesn't bother me. And so I was at an advantage not having done Olympic lifting that long.
Sure. Yeah, your connective tissue was a lot healthier.
Yeah. Right.
And your dancing background probably helped, and just your multi-sport background over the years, being a generalist over the years probably really helped you.
Yeah, that's a whole other topic that I go off on today's youth and the specialization.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy, Yeah, they're going to be an MLB player when they're 12.
Right.
or an NFL player when they're 8 years old.
Yeah, I coached so many kids who were going to have full rides at D1 schools in soccer. But
yeah, exactly. You're thinking to yourself, wow, if all these kids becomes, the world's going to be, the U.S. is going to be full of nothing but soccer.
Right.
But so Olympic lifting and
after Olympic lifting, so I pulled back on the Olympic lifting. It got hard to go into the gym and do that sort of intensity with Olympic lifting. It's a different sort of, I find it's a different sort of intensity. You have to get so fired up to move so fast and move those weights.
Explosive.
And it's like, damn, that's hard. That was the hardest part for me.
Yeah.
So I went back to pretty much straight barbell training, pretty much an intermediate starting strength program. And then, so I was coaching some people in powerlifting, and they were competing, and they were like, Peter, when are you going to do this? I'm like, I'm not going to do powerlifting.
Seems like people are always dragging you, kicking and screaming into some athletic endeavor.
And so you should do it. I was like, I don't want to do this. Now, come on, you already have the singlet. You can do it.
You already got the gear.
That's right.
Come on, you got the
Right.
leotard.
Right.
Why not?
So I started last year on powerlifting.
And you crushed it.
And
You're crushing
it was great. So now I've only done, well, I did the
USSF?
USSF thing. Got a second in that. Some guy in Arizona smashed me, but
wow.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about your stats, Kate. You're how tall?
5'7", 5'8", depending on the day.
Yeah, you weigh 165?
169, 170.
170. What are your numbers right now on the squat, press, and deadlift? And go ahead and throw the bench press in there because of USAPL and all that.
So at the last comp, I did 386 for my squat. I've done 405. I did 405 at the USSF.
Wow. Yeah.
2 years ago. Press is 165. Bench is 230.
Awesome.
And on deadlift is 407.
Wow. Those are good numbers. Those are good. And what you got to remember, folks, I mean, let's keep this in perspective. Peter's 65?
Yep.
65 years old. Hear that again, guys. He's 65 years old and he back squats 386 or 405 at 170 pounds. So what I'm hearing you say all along this conversation is that when you tried a new sport, which I think we should do things like that. I think even as older masters, as athletes, as lifters, whatever you want to call yourself, I think we should be trying new things. I think it's great for us to show our athletic prowess in other ways, and I think it challenges our mind, our spirit, our body. Yeah. But what I love hearing you say is that what really brought you back every time was you went back to foundational barbell training every single time.
Yeah, that makes a huge difference. What underlies Olympic lifting. It underlies CrossFit. I mean, soccer. I played soccer for 15 years. Master soccer. We would start out on our team. We would have 20 guys on the team, and we would sub in, freely. Yeah. By the end of the season, we were down to 10 or 11.
Attrition.
Everybody went out with groin pulls, hamstring pulls, whatever. I was like, I never was injured. I mean, I sprained my ankle, but that's different.
I tell you something. The same insight I ran into, or same experience I had, was I held one of the first largest masters competitions for CrossFit in 2014 in Texas, North Texas. It was called the Masters Cup Series, and it was 3 competitions. And what I did was I got tired of seeing, masters comps, and the programming was terrible. Yeah. The organization was terrible. And the masters was just really becoming popular in the games, And so I thought I want a way where people my age, 40 and over, can come in. The workouts are appropriately programmed. They're strength biased. And people who went to my workouts today will tell you that they were strength biased. But then I would throw in, the energy system pathways. Basically, I'd do a longer endurance workout and a shorter, faster body weight Metcon,
right.
And then I would have strength bias in there too. Not necessarily in the workouts, but we'd have a max squat or a max press or a max squat clean or something like that,
right.
Or a clean and jerk max. And so, but we did 3 competitions that year. It was from one year to the next, and you could win each competition individually, and if you competed in all 3, you could win the cup. And so it was called the 40 Fit Masters Cup Series. So competitors that did all 3 had the opportunity to then take all 3 of their scores and their rankings, combine them, and they could win the whole cup. And we had a big prize load and everything. It was really cool. But here's what happened. First competition, we had over 100 masters compete. First time we ever held it, we had over 100 masters. Second competition, 81. We had the same register, but we had so many people get injured on the way to competing.
Yeah.
Third competition, 68.
Wow.
And it was because people kept getting hurt along the way. I would get a call and they'd say, "Hey, I've registered." And I said, "Well, we'll give you registration fee back. You know, I mean, it's far enough out. It's not a big deal." But yeah, and that got me thinking more and more. And then I had this very similar experience. I had met Rip through CrossFit, through their barbell cert in 2011 or 2012. And I just started thinking about what's, for myself, really, through some health problems that I had and some problems I had with my parents' health, started thinking to myself, what is really sustainable? What could I do today that I could still have pretty dang good capacity maybe 10, 15, 20 years from now? And I always came back to this type of program. 2 to 3 days a week of barbell training, a couple days of conditioning, and that's what I do. And it works. I don't feel trashed every single day. I'm not sore from a ton of eccentric loading. You know how it is with CrossFit sometimes, man. You do a workout that's got a ton of eccentrics in it. Within 2 days, you can't even walk. You can't even move your arms. You got DOMs so bad.
I know, and people take that as a badge of honor. And I always point out to them, yes, you just screwed up your training.
Yeah, exactly.
Now you can't train well.
Right.
It's almost like people are proud of their scarred hands or their ripped calluses. I'm like, well, that was really stupid.
Yeah.
Now you can't pick up a barbell. So now what are you going to do?
Well, I love your approach, and I kind of, obviously we're in the same communities. We see each other's posts and stuff on Facebook. We're friends on Facebook, but one of the things I love is you've got a pretty cool, I don't know if that's your garage gym or what it is,
so
but it is really cool.
I have a barn. On my property. After I sold my starting strength gym, I just opened up my barn. It's about 1,000 square feet. I've got 2 racks, a bench, and an open area for Olympic lifting. And I've got about 12 people come in and train with me. And I've got a great group. I got one guy who's world champion powerlifter and world record.
Dudes.
He just pulled 550 for fourth the other day. He's incredible.
He's how old?
He's 65. He's 65. He's incredible. And I was like, I want to be like you when I grow up. I mean, he comes in and he pulls these numbers. I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
And my other friend Rich is, like I said, he just won his 3rd National Olympic lifting.
That's cool.
And then I have a couple of women who are masters lifters. One won a silver at the Nationals, and the other woman won the USSF competition 2 years ago, I think.
Cool.
So these are all, and these, this is just a great group of people to train with. So we come in, train, and I also see, people private.
Do starting strength.
Starting strength referrals. I do that, and
cool.
So it's it's right on my property. There's no bathroom. I got a porta-john outside, and it's so it's pretty bare bones, but it's a great. 3-4 times a week, these people come and train with me. So it's a blast.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Are you retired now? Do you work? What do you?
Yeah, I'm retired. I mean, that barn thing is just it's just a hobby, and it's for my own selfish reasons. I like to train.
Sure.
And I do the online training, the SSOC.
That's right.
Right. So I do that, and that's about it.
Yeah. Very cool.
Yeah. So I'm retired.
Yeah. Very cool. Yeah. Your barn is awesome. When you post videos of squats, or I saw a guy pulling the other day, and I think it was the guy you were talking about. He was pulling 500. Yeah, I was like, holy cow! But you know what? The key behind 40 Fit is basically this. The reason why I birthed this thing was kind of, I want to provide science-based, experiential, observational-based fitness information, health information to people over the age of 40. So I got tired of the gimmicks and the fads and all the other things, and we have such a huge resource of intellectual property within our strength community, within the CrossFit community of masters. We've got a lot of guys and a lot of ladies who could say, no, that doesn't work. I'm telling you, that doesn't work. And we all nod our head, yes, it doesn't work. And the younger folks go, oh, we're going to do it anyway. They have to experience, sometimes the best learning teacher is experience.
Well, you can't. I have young lifters or young athletes, and they love CrossFit, and they want to do CrossFit, and I'm like, okay, you can do CrossFit, but you really need to do this progressive barbell training. Yeah. It's really
foundation.
It's going to help you forever.
Yeah.
It's going to help your CrossFit. It's going to help And I say, oh, no, we lift in CrossFit. And I said, yeah, you do, but not really.
Right.
It's not progressive. It's not training. But you can't convince them. I mean, that's not.
And you know what? Now, today, if you talk to the games athletes that are legitimate games athletes, they have barbell coaches. Sure. They do a lot of bodybuilding style training too. And they condition very little until they get up to the competitions. They work on barbell lifting, Olympic lifting. So they put on a lot of mass, a lot of lean mass, a lot of strength. It supports their connective tissue. They train. Actually, a lot of games level athletes, I've talked to several, like Billy Goodson's a friend of mine, Masters athlete, Willie Villarreal, some of these guys, Dale. And these guys will tell you, I don't go and blow every single day. I can't. I don't go out and do a Metcon or conditioning workout as if I'm trying to win the workout that day.
Right.
I might go in at 80%.
Right, sure.
But people have to learn this. They have to learn how to train.
You can't go. The CrossFit training as competition was innovative, I think, and it brought a lot of intensity to your workouts. But you can't do that day in and day out. No. I mean, I found out that I cannot go in and do the hardest I can. I go as hard as I can go every day. I mean, I'll just kill myself. It's the same. I can't do the Texas method. If I can't do 5x5 on Monday because I'll kill myself doing that too.
Yeah, well, there's stuff in just like within CrossFit and within barbell training and probably within any fitness endeavor or training, there are certain things that just smash different people, and you just, I've learned that there's certain movements that, I don't squat snatch anymore just because it kills my shoulders, I love to clean and jerk. I love to barbell train. I still like to do conditioning workouts, but I think what my goal is that we can present to the broader community sustainable training models, things that they could do and have a reasonable level of fitness. And even in some cases like yours, a lot of athletic prowess too, and still be able to do that day in, day out with a little tweak here and there, maybe a little ebb and flow of training. Even with barbells, we got to learn how to kind of deload and decrease the volume over time and then come back into the volume and the intensity. But I think that there's probably a model there that works better than others. And to me, it's always been, 2 or 3 days a week barbell training, a couple of days of conditioning. I stay lean. The diet's what creates the leanness. Sure. It's not training. People don't understand that, but that's the truth. But what I like about you is you've made it work.
Yeah, and people ask me, I was like, why are you doing this at your age? What the hell? I mean, you're 65 years old, do shuffleboard or something. And I was like, well, I'm doing it because
go play croquet.
I'm doing it because I can.
Yeah,
it's like, if I'm not trying to prove anything to anybody, I really enjoy what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I do it because I can. And it's satisfying to me, and it has great benefits. I'm not trying to be an exemplar. I'm not Jack LaLanne. I'm not. I'm not evangelical about it. I mean, unless you really start talking to me.
Yeah.
But I do it because I can. And when I had my gym, I had so many people would come in, and I'd have the first interview and ask them what their goals are, what they want to accomplish, and they would always start off by saying, "Well, I'm old," and I was like, "Yes, how old are you?" And she goes, "Oh, well, I'm almost 40." And I'm like, "Oh shit, man, time to hang it up."
You better turn around and go back out the door.
I was like, okay, enough of that. I was like, time after time, I'm 50. I'm going to be 50 in a few years. And I was like, I wish I was going to be 50 in a few years.
Yeah, I remember that 10, 15 years ago.
Yeah, so, so that always cracked me up. But I was like, well, you can do it. I mean, a lot of it's mindset. And you say, well, I had kids. It's time for me to be sedentary now. I'm like, what the hell is wrong with you?
Yeah. Well, what I love about your example, and I know you didn't set out to do this to be an example, but you obviously have leadership skills. You have a lot of, you're a coach, so you like helping others. That's obvious based on your career choice and your path and everything is. But what I like about you is that you've figured out what works for you. You're a reasonable, you think reasonably in how you train people, not exercise them, but train people. And I think that's what works. And what our population needs to see is people like you and people like me who will say to themselves, just because I'm 50 or 60 or 65 or 70 or whatever, that doesn't mean I am physically done, you know? And I think even at our age, especially as men, that there's a lot of value in, like Matt and Scott say, and you know, Barbell Logic and several of the other podcasts, you know, in Brett McKay's podcast, Art of Manliness, and there's another one by Ryan Melchner. It's called Order of Man. It's a great podcast, but this concept of voluntary hardship, of doing things that we don't necessarily want to do because we're tired sometimes, or because, you know, then I start saying things to myself like, you know, I don't have to do that. I'm old, man. I'm an older guy. I don't have to. But that's a slippery slope.
It's a very slippery slope.
Yeah.
And then you start, you know, I'm going to skip this. I'm not going to do that anymore. And fairly quickly you find that, shit, I can't do this anymore.
Right.
And now what am I going to do?
You lost the capacity.
Right.
Yeah.
And I don't want that to happen.
Yeah. I tell my patients in our practice, I tell them all the time, my goal is to make you be able to lift something overhead, bend over and pick it up, and stand up from a chair. And if you can always do that with weight, no one is ever going to put you in a nursing home because you can't move and care for yourself. If you get put in a nursing home, it's because your mind's gone, you know?
Right.
And I want our life curve. If you think about the life curve, here's our quality of life, Peter. We're up here, right? One day I want it to go like this.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So that we're up here, we're living in the best quality of life we possibly can. And then at one day, well, you know, if I have a massive coronary on a 14,000 foot mountain because I'm elk hunting,
right.
Great.
Yeah.
You know, but at least I died doing something I enjoyed. I know that sounds morbid, but I think that's true.
Right.
So,
you don't want to spend the last 15 years of your life, like, you know, sedentary in a wheelchair, not being able to take care of yourself.
Yeah,
it's just
absolutely.
That's just scary.
Yeah, I'm gonna interview my father-in-law eventually on the podcast if I can talk him into it. He flew in Vietnam. He flew helicopters when he came out of the Army. He's flown helicopters all of his life, and he still flies today. But I mean, I think it's a lot like it's that concept. He doesn't think twice. We went out to his house the other day. He threw a saddle on the back of a horse. I threw a saddle on the back of a horse. He tacked his horse, tacked mine. We got on. We went out riding. He didn't think twice about stuff like that.
My mother's 92 years old. She has a small barn. She has a couple donkeys and a horse.
Awesome.
She goes out every day, mucks out the stalls, gets the hay out. And I said, "Ma, can't you get?" She goes, "No, nobody wants to help me." She's 5 foot. I think she's all of 92 pounds.
Yeah.
So, and she's out there mucking the stalls and stuff. And it's like, well, damn.
Yeah. That's it.
It's
keeps her young, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. I think we need to be useful. When we start thinking about our bodies as if they're no longer useful, they become no longer useful. So we got to stay active, got to stay useful. Any advice for someone out there who's a 40 plus person and they just want to get started in an exercise program? They want to get, they don't know where to start. What would you tell that person if they walked into your barn gym today?
Of course, I'm an advocate for barbell training. So I would teach them.
Anyone can barbell train?
Anyone can barbell train.
Okay.
I don't see anybody who can't. Well, rare exceptions.
Yeah, very
but
small.
I haven't had anybody who walked into my gym who couldn't barbell train.
Yeah.
Joint replacements, cardiac patients, they can all barbell train if programmed adequately, appropriately with good coaching.
Right.
So barbell training, I think it's if you need a decent coach, you need somebody who knows what they're doing.
I agree with that.
And there are not that many of them. Starting Strengths is a good place, a good community to find one.
Sure.
I would start with barbell training. It doesn't matter how old you are.
Yeah.
I can find a way around it.
Yeah.
If you can't hold a barbell on your back, I can figure out something else.
Yep. We can be creative.
I can figure that movement out, and I can get you squatting and pressing, and deadlifting, and within weeks you'll feel a huge difference.
Yeah.
And
I haven't met a person who hasn't.
I think it's hugely empowering for most people when they start getting stronger. Nobody's ever told me that, oh, I don't like getting this strong. I don't want to be this strong. I mean, I've had people come in.
I like being weaker.
People come in and say, oh, I would like to train, but I don't want to lift big weights.
Right.
And I don't say this, but I was like, of course you're not going to lift big weights. You can't lift big weights.
Exactly.
You're not strong enough to lift big weights now. But you may change your mind once you start lifting.
Yeah, your perception changes over time.
Right. And all of a sudden, it's like, I can do this.
Yeah.
And that's a huge, not only a physical difference, but it's an emotional difference or a self-confidence difference.
Sure.
Now I can do this. I can handle this. I can lift this. I can do this. And that foundation will help you if you want. So I would do that for the first few months, and then I start conditioning people.
Yeah.
Because people say, oh, I would like to run, I would like to bike, I would like to climb. There's a huge...
They want to use their capacity.
And absolutely.
In other endeavors.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, barbell training is not an end in itself. You don't have to be a power lifter.
Right.
Most people don't want to be a power lifter.
But that's kind of how people think about it, though.
Right.
I think of barbell training as, in August, I'm going to go in, I'm going to elk scout, so I can go into the high country at 12, 13, 14,000 feet with a 60-pound pack and my bow.
Right.
That's why I barbell train, and do things functionally.
Right.
So,
and that's what's going to help you. I have people, a lot of hikers in my area, a lot of climbers, and I was like, this would be the best thing to give you a foundation to make sure you stay healthy and enjoy your sport or recreation.
Sure. Yeah. Well, I think that's great advice. And Peter, if people wanted to reach out to you, what would be a good way to reach out to you to ask you a question? Or maybe if they're in your area, they need a coach. Are you in upstate New York?
I'm upstate New York. I'm in the Hudson Valley, about an hour and a half above the city, about half an hour below Woodstock.
Okay.
So yeah, you can contact me.
You're on startingstrength.org.
You can get me to startingstrength.org. I'm in the coaches directory. That's
probably the best way.
That's probably the easiest way to get me.
Okay, cool. Well, Peter, thanks for being on the podcast this morning, and it was great having you. And I'm sure we'll probably have you on in the future because you're going to be doing something else different, and we got to hear about that too. So I'd love this guy. I met him through our community, our strength community, and I said to myself, I've got to interview this guy. I love it when I see men that are older and women that have made the choice to stay physically active. And so, hey guys, if you want to get a hold of us, you can go to the Facebook community group on Facebook. You can find us at 40Fit Radio on the Instagrams. And you can also go to 40fit.com and contact me if you'd like to touch base with me. We are revamping the website right now. It's probably going to be revamped by the time this podcast is aired, but it's great having you. And 40Fit Pearls today would be, number 1, anyone can barbell train. Number 2, get started and get strong. Number 3, you're never too old. Number 4, try new things. Take your fitness and do other things. And number 5, I think it's important to be around a supportive community, people that are like-minded and trying to accomplish similar things. So have a great day, and thanks for listening to 40 Fit Radio.